as a defensive player of the year by Richard Sherman, and just basically calling all these different players that should be in these conversations for awards. And I thought it would be interesting. Do you think that Kyle Shanahan should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year with
Yeah,
how
Kyle
all these
Shanahan.
teams play?
Kyle Shanahan, Coach of the Year. I think as long as Christian McCaffrey continues to pile up the games that he has, Offensive Player of the Year. I think that's his award because MVP is hard for it not to be a quarterback. And then the way that Josh Allen's been playing football ever since week one, like he threw all those interceptions and everyone went to rush and dance on his grave. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you guys forget, like, he looks really good as well too. If he continues at that level, it's going to be tough to knock him out of MVP because they're actually running the football. But Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year. I think Fred throw himself into the Defensive Player of the Year discussion with that performance on national television. And yeah, Kyle Shanahan, Coach of the Year for sure. I'll throw one more out there if we want to get optimistic. John
Yeah.
Lynch, Executive of the Year. Especially if
Oh.
they make another move, another splash move. Obviously, if Randy Gregory turns into kind of that speed rusher that they've been chasing since D
Mhm.
Ford, that looks great. But if the 49ers bring in someone else, and I think it was Dan Graziano of ESPN who said, I do not expect the 49ers to sit on their hands during the trade deadline as well too. If he starts to wheel and deal and make these moves, and then you start to look at all the cap space you still have, and then you can bring back Ayuk, I think he gets thrust into that as well. But yeah, I mean, you could make a case for
Which is
any of
kind
these
of
guys.
incredible
Mhm.
coming into this season with the Trey Lance thing and everyone being like, this is the worst thing ever. And then in hindsight, you find out that they had actually just got an extended too. It'd be what a um progression over the year to go from, worst trade ever to hey, this guy should be in the conversation for executive year. And you're right. Everything you're saying, I
And
completely agree. And
that's
that
the thing,
Hargrave signing looks
right? The
even better.
Hargrave
Like,
signing,
he's
and
not bad at stopping the run, which was like a problem for him, right?
right, no,
And
and I
yeah,
think when you look at the Hargrave thing, you look at the Amenahue trade, you look at the McCaffrey trade, you look at all those things, and then I think what kind of puts him in the Executive of the Year discussion is how many teams would have been able to absorb missing that badly on the number 3 pick and just continue to keep rolling like the 49ers, right? And again, Executive of the Year doesn't really have to do anything with past or anything like that. But look
yeah,
at this team that they've built and look at the way they built it and look at how they just haven't missed a beat. It's really impressive. So I really didn't think of that until right now, but I do think that if there are some more moves to be made, possibly bringing in a cornerback that can kick Diamador Lenore inside, just strengthen the secondary a little bit more. That would be incredible. And then you start to look at maybe like, some offensive line depth or, God forbid there is an injury, you can replace them with an impact player who's a rental, essentially like Randy Gregory. Yeah, you really got to start talking about John Lynch in that way, man, because this team, again, they're here because they're that loaded and he has a hand in that.
yeah. He definitely is someone who maybe doesn't get as much credit, at least among fans, when discussing how well built this team is. I've
Well,
heard
actually,
people,
every good pick is Adam Peters, and
yeah,
every bad pick is John
his
Lynch.
his agent needs a raise.
Yeah, I mean, whoever does his media has put him in a status of just being mysterious, and just every good pick is Adam Peters, every bad pick's John Lynch, and all the other good picks are Kyle. Like which ones are Kyle, and it's just no one knows who's making these decisions. It seems like a group effort, all those things, and John Lynch is involved in that.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they're like, oh well, in these rounds with this guy, and I'm like, are you in there? Do you know this at all? Is this purely
No,
you're
no,
saying this extremely factually,
no.
and I really love the confidence,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like you're just saying something you thought about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I had such a good time talking with you, Jason. Not too much to critique nowadays, just 5-0, 14 straight
It's
regular
a
season
beautiful time.
games.
It's a beautiful
If
time to be
you
a
bet.
49ers content creator. You just get out here and you're just like, hey, they're really good. Like, like
Like,
nothing
I
really
hope you
wrong.
feel great. Everyone
Yeah.
feeling good? Me too. I keep saying on all these shows because I'm not a gambler, but I keep mentioning that Kittle interview that I heard, and I have had this hypothesis for I think Steph Chantis was the first person to point out that oh, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the record for it's 18 straight games with a touchdown is the record for the most games
Mm-hmm.
with a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey are going for that goal. They want and it's pretty obvious because Christian McCaffrey is the first player to get a touchdown in like all of the last 5 games. So they're trying to make sure that he breaks that record. I hypothesized that they were, and then George Kittle in his interview said that they talk about it in the meeting room and that it is a goal of theirs to make sure that he gets one of those touchdowns all the way through. So people who bet should bet on that. I don't
You
know
should
really how
you should
betting
use
works.
it. You can. I know in Cali you can't gamble, but you can use underdog fantasy and put the over
There
on
we
the
go.
half a touchdown right there. So you
And
can
I'm
do that
sure
as
there's
well
a
too.
promo code that someone
Yep.
has.
Promo code Aponte if you want to double your
Oh,
first deposit.
there you go. There you go. But